So it looks like there's a big fight in Congress to get this new spending bill done. This new spending bill could possibly be a bigger stimulus check that goes out to everybody, a fourth stimulus check. Many of the states right now are sending out fourth stimulus checks, so it's good news for a lot of people that live in certain states. I know every state has about billions of dollars. There was about $380 billion total that went out to all the states. So each state has money in the treasury, and they have to actually spend that money before the 31st of December in order to get benefits out to people in that area. If they don't, they have to send that money back to the federal government. And I know states don't want to send that money back. But right now you have the Democrats in the House of Representatives who are trying to get this $3.5 trillion budget plan passed. If they can get that passed, there's going to be an American Families Plan inside of that. Also, there could be a support act inside of that also that could possibly get a fourth stimulus check on a reoccurring basis. So Nancy Pelosi and Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer have pointed to the end of the month for getting both a stalled bipartisan infrastructure bill and still be a negotiated social spending bill through Congress. Looks like this is going to take all month to get this done, possibly get at the end of the month, maybe get another round of stimulus going out the door. The Senate did have a infrastructure bill they passed that in the Senate. It's a $1.9 trillion infrastructure bill. It's the American Jobs Plan. That's part of President Biden's Build Back Better. So in that Build Back Better, he has that infrastructure bill that's going to get more money to build roads, bridges, infrastructure in the United States. The American Families Plan is inside of the other bill, and that is going to get more money for families and things like that. So it could be extending out the child tax credit. If you do get a monthly payment on right now with child tax credit, every month on the 15th is the payments go out. If they extend that out, then you would get a monthly payment every month for the next 4 or 5 years. They want to extend it out through the year 2025. One of the things right now is crazy is that the $600 tax rule that the IRS is trying to pass or trying to get this thing passed is absolutely insane what they're going to be doing with this. But it says in a recent report, the IRS, the agency estimated that the federal government loses around $166 billion in revenue to tax avoidance each year. In hopes of limiting tax evasion, the Biden administration has proposed a new rule that would allow the government to monitor bank accounts with over $600. The move has sparked outrage by Republicans who see it as a prime example of government outreach. To me, it seems like it's a government outreach. A proposal would mandate that each year financial institutions report gross inflows and outflows with the breakdown for physical cash, transactions with a foreign account, and transfers to and from another account with the same owner. These requirements would also apply to those trading in cryptocurrencies. To cover the cost of bipartisan infrastructure package, the reconciliation bill, lawmakers on Capitol Hill have been eagerly assessing various ways to reduce tax evasion, which is where the idea gained traction. So the government wants to spend $5 trillion. They want to create a bill that says we want to spend $5 trillion. Now, in order to get that, they either have to print the money from the Federal Reserve or they have to tax people in order to pay for that. Now, $5 trillion, if you taxed the wealthiest people in America 100%, like you gave them nothing, they took all the money from them, you would only be able to support the government for the next 8 months. That's it. So you couldn't support them for the next 10 years, whatever it is. So you can't, so when these bills come up and they want to tax the rich and all that, what people don't understand is that taxing the rich is not going to be able to pay for all the things that the government wants to spend on. It's like if you had a credit card and you wanted to buy tons and tons of stuff, but you just didn't have the income coming in to pay for the bill on that credit card, you couldn't do it. So how would this impact most workers? Most people who earn income through formal employment would not be impacted by the change. The IRS already knows how much money one makes based on their W-2s. Additionally, most people in the U.S. do not have an additional or foreign bank account to hide the funds from the Treasury. The people who would be impacted are generally wealthier. For those who own their own business, the IRS has less access and relies on self-reporting financial information. So the wealthier, if they tax them more, what it does is it creates incentives for people to try to go and find other ways to not deal with paying the IRS. I mean, governments can't just tax people 100%. People have to support themselves. And if the government needs to raise money, they should eliminate some of the programs that they had. That's just my personal feeling on that. One of the objections is Cynthia Lummis believes the change could have a very harmful impact on the financial sector, making the IRS job even more difficult. Senator Lummis argues that the increased scrutiny on banking could drive people out of the formal sector just to thwart the IRS access to their personal information, not because they're trying to hide anything, but because they're not willing to share everything. And that seems to me People should have their privacy for banking. All that shouldn't have to be the government coming in and doing all that. So to me, it's a little invasive. I think that government Treasury Janet Yellen, she should come out and say, you know what, government, why don't you guys reduce some of the things that you're spending on instead of adding more stuff? You just continue to add more stuff. So we have to continue to try to tax people more and more and more. It's just going to drive people out of the country. It's going to drive businesses out of the country. It's not good long term. It's good news for a lot of the states. If you're in one of these states that is going to be receiving the money, California is sending out stimulus checks to those in California. It's up to $1,100 you can get in California. It's the Golden State Stimulus. And this has already been approved. There's already sent out close to 3 million checks in the state of California. You have to live in the state. You have to file your returns with the Franchise Tax Board, and you have to been living there at least 6 months. If you qualified for a federal tax, $75,000 or less, you automatically get this Golden State Stimulus check. So just look for that if you live in the state of California. It's either going to be a direct deposit or it's going to be a check in the mail. New York has already set aside $2.1 billion for excluded workers fund. And this is something that has already been set aside. People that make under a certain amount are going to be getting a stimulus check. Inside of New York City, it looks like they're giving $5,000 to people that are artists. There's a lot of money going into the cab drivers, and also homeless are getting a ton of money. Tennessee is receiving $1,000 bonus checks for full-time teachers, and then $500 for part-time. Other states are going to be, I think it's Colorado, Michigan, Florida, Georgia. These states are also sending out checks to people in that area. Florida is one of the states that's sending a lot more stimulus. They're going to be sending $1,000 checks to teachers, to EMTs, to policemen, to firefighters, people on the front lines. But most of the states, seems like their education labor union is going to be putting a lot of pressure on these governors. That's why these governors are sending that money back out into the state. One of the states that I was not really happy about is Alabama. They're going to be using that money for other things than stimulus payments. The federal government gave each state billions of dollars to turn around and give some type of stimulus to their states to try to stimulate the economy. And if some of the states take that money and don't stimulate the economy, they just go use it for infrastructure and things like that, then that's not helping out their communities. And so that's why I think that some of these states need to step up and spend more money. New Mexico is sending more money out. They're going to be sending out $750 checks to that state. But California is the only state right now that's sending out direct stimulus payments. So they're going to have to wait until the federal government comes out with a new plan. The new plan possibly could be done in the course of the next couple of weeks. If they get that Support Act into the new plan, then that will be reoccurring payments. The progressives and the Democrats, they want to have reoccurring payments going out, $1,200 payments on a consistent monthly basis. If they can get that done, then that would be some type of universal basic income. It would be a plan to get more money out to those that do qualify for that. That's what they're going at right now. Democrats right now are trying to get more money out. The Republicans are kind of not wanting to get more money out because they think that the U.S. debt right now is just so high. The federal government is spending too much money. I think right now they're $5 trillion they're going to be spending is way too much. There has to be limits on the amount of money the government spend. If there's not limits, then it becomes one of those governments like some of the other places like Venezuela and places like that, where they just continuously print the money and it just deflates everything. It basically inflates all the prices and everything. It deflates the value of the currency so much that people are paying way more money. And that's why, like Social Security right now, they're trying to get a payment out to those in Social Security because of the fact that inflation is rising so much and it's just taken off. And so right now, I believe they need to not spend this money. But if they can get more stimulus out to people, then that's great. So hopefully we'll see if they can get that done in the next couple of weeks.